Hello, my dear students. Welcome to English class. I'm your teacher, Mrs. Lata Singh. I hope you all are well and you all are studying very nicely. Today, I'm going to teach you a poem written by Alfred Lord Tennyson. And the name of the poem is Break, Break, Break. Alfred Tennyson was a royal poet. He was born on 6th August 1809 and died on 6th October 1892. He was a poet laureate during Queen Victoria's reign and remains one of the most popular British poets. And Queen Victoria was an ardent admirer of Tennyson's work. He wrote this poem in 1835, 2 years after the death of his close friend and fellow poet Arthur Hallam. His full name was Arthur Henry Hallam. Because the poem's speaker laments the death of a close friend, most readers read Break, Break, Break as an elegy to Hallam, though the poem stands on its own as a more general meditation on mortality and loss. Published in 1842, the poem is often read alongside Tennyson's In Memoriam, AHH. I hope you must have understood AHH stands for Arthur Henry Hallam, a longer work that is more explicit in its commemoration of Hallam and the impact he had on Tennyson's life. For him, this poem, Break, 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 it depicts the fleeting nature of life, and he was deeply in trouble. This poem implies that the speaker is mourning someone's death and being forced to face the fact that this person will never return. Although the poem doesn't clarify the circumstances of the speaker's loss, it's clear that it has thoroughly unsettled the speaker, who can't even stare out at the ocean without feeling tormented by the knowledge that everything in life eventually comes to an end. Everything around the speaker serves as a reminder that life is fleeting. Even the waves crashing against the shoreline represent this idea of impermanence. Since these waves no longer exist in their original form once they have broken over the rocks, this reinforces the idea that nothing in the natural world lasts forever. And because people obviously exist in the natural world, this also holds true for everyone who has ever lived. Well, I have given you the gist of the poem, that the poet is actually in grief and he's really very sad. He's sitting by the seashore and seeing the water splashing onto the rocks. The poem goes like this: Break, break, break on thy cold grey stones, O sea, and I would that my tongue could utter the thoughts that arise in me. Looking at the waves, he is saying that even I'm trying so hard that my tongue could utter my inner thoughts. मेरे अंदर जो भी कुछ चल रहा है, काश मेरी ज़ुबान वो बोल पाती, मेरे इमोशंस को वर्ड्स में कन्वर्ट कर पाती. To illustrate the tension between the speaker and the external world, break, break, break plays with contrasts. For instance, the first stanza presents a bleak setting, calling the stones on the shoreline cold and grey, and pairing this somber image with the speaker's inability to utter the troubling thoughts that continue to arise in his mind. Clearly establishes the speaker's unhappiness. But the second stanza wears away this gloomy tone as the speaker watches children playing nearby and also a sailor singing in the bay. Suddenly, the cold and grey landscape of the poem transforms into a more light-hearted setting, one in which people go about their lives in a carefree manner. The line says, "Oh, well for the fisherman's boy, that he shouts with his sister at play. Oh, well for the sailor lad, that he sings in his boat on the bay." Bay means coast, right? Here he watches the fisherman's boy who's playing with his sister and shouting loud. Also, the lad, sailor boy, lad means boy, who's also singing in his boat at the coast. So he's seeing people around who are unaffected from his lamentness, from his sadness, right? This illustrates just how little others are affected by the speaker's grief. Indeed, what the speaker sees as an irrecoverable loss, the outside world doesn't even notice it. Well, the speaker, of course, is aware that life won't stop to accommodate a person's individual sadness. With this in mind, the speaker uses a somewhat bitter tone when considering the happy people in the bay. By beginning the stanza and the lines with the "Oh, well for the fisherman's boy, oh, well for the sailor lad," the speaker frames their happiness as an affront, as if sarcastically saying, "Oh, how nice for them." This demonstrates that it is painful for the speaker to witness such joy, making the process of moving on, the process of coping with loss, especially hard, as he lost his best friend. Well, I'm ending today's class here only with these two stanzas and will cover the rest too in my next class. Hope you all have understood well. Try to read the poem further, the next two stanzas, and I will be explaining in my next class. This poem is obviously dealing with a mournful situation where the poet is lamenting on the loss of his best friend. So it's talking about immortality and impermanence. Take care, children. We'll meet you in my next class.